mean, it's amazing, and you just sit back and you soak it up. You don't really talk much. You listen, you watch, you learn, and it's very much like being a rookie, where you felt like you were something coming out of college, and you figured out how it all went, and then you came to the pros and you realized you walked into something where you didn't know much of anything. And that's the same way you feel when you come here to the Hall of Fame. You get around all the Hall of Famers and you realize there's so much history here and there's so much accomplishment here, and now you're a part of it. But right now, this is your time to sit back and learn from the history of the game.
Does it feel real for you, for yourself?
It feels surreal. But I think what's really going to freak me out is Chris Carter was explaining when you walk down and all the different things, and my heart started racing. And I said I might be the first guy that passes out on stage, which would not be cool, but it is definitely surreal. It's sunken in, but it's just so much. You just got to. When I go home on Sunday after this, it'll definitely hit me.
We're from Houston. We spent some time with your family recently, kind of leading up. Can you just reflect back on your journey and kind of how that began at Westbury High School, Texas Southern, throughout your career to get to this point?
I'm trying to take my speech. What am I going to be left to talk about?
Yeah, a little something to that.
I have nothing. Well, no, I mean, I went back to Westbury High School for 5 months, literally from Germany, and played 1 year football. My dad said, you can do it and get a scholarship. And I got a scholarship from Texas Southern. And 4 years, wanted to quit after my first semester there, first season. But my dad convinced me to hang in there and just encouraged me. And 4 years later, I get drafted to the Giants. And, being in Houston and being at Westbury, being at TSU, and all the work that went into it, without that, I definitely, I'm not here, because I feel like I had such a hard journey of learning the game on the run, learning the game and playing against guys who'd already known the game for their entire lives. On top of it, doing it in that oppressive Texas heat, where you had to find something within yourself that you didn't know you had to even stay out there and compete. And being that my parents were in Germany, when you have Thanksgiving and Christmases and other holidays, when the campus is empty because everyone has somewhere to go, and you got to learn, you got to be your own man. I had to grow up a lot, and all those things, I look back now, definitely helped me now, help me every day, to be honest with you.
Michael, you talked about how surreal this is, and yet you're somebody who's accustomed to the spotlight, to fame, to commercials, to public, to attention. So does that make it even more surreal in some ways?
I mean, I kind of look and go, I don't really get excited about much, and get excited about many things, because every day is like a continuous cycle of interesting stuff. But this is unlike anything else. This is something you can't buy yourself into. You can't get a break from somebody to get into. You can't bribe somebody to get into. I mean, this is something that you truly have to earn. And you're with guys who, I grew up watching football. I grew up watching NFL films and the frozen tundra. I mean, the voice, and it made the game look so cool and sexy at the same time. It's like a gladiator. And then now to be known as one of those guys, and those type of films are made about, and the kids will look and go, okay, this guy's one of the best who's ever done it. And to be in the room with the guys who I look at it that way is overwhelming.
Would it be fair to say, though, that among your classmates, you bring the most buzz, to this weekend?
I mean, you know what? I think the buzz comes from just the weekend itself. I mean, this is the Hall of Fame. It's not about one player, one person, and what they've done. And you got to humble yourself. Plain and simple. You got to humble yourself, because everybody here has had their moment. It's kind of like when you get a guy who comes in and he goes, I was an All-American and I won the Heisman, and you look around the room and we all go, and what? They all did all All-Americans. Winning a Heisman, who cares? You still got to prove it here. And that's what it's like being here. Not so much as, what you do outside of this. This has nothing to do with TV now. It doesn't have anything. It has something to do with what I did for those 15 years and what these guys did for the years that they played. And I think that's the great thing about it. It puts everybody on the same level. We all now are Hall of Famers. We all joined a very exclusive club. And I think we all have a tremendous amount of respect for that and for each other.
You think you'll be emotional tomorrow?
You know what? I didn't think I was going to be emotional. That Howie Long surprised me yesterday and kind of got me a little bit. I didn't tear up and cry. But I will say, I kind of walked through the stadium today, and the picture standing on that stage with everybody sitting in those seats, especially with my parents and my kids sitting there and having the opportunity to look at them, and just with the other Hall of Famers there, it might be a little tough. I am not going to be the first one to cry. Guarantee you that, because I'm the last one to speak. So, but it'll be interesting. I just told the guys, it's okay if you're going to cry. This is the opportunity to cry. This is the opportunity to cry when nobody can say anything to you. But just don't be an ugly crier. Don't be an ugly crier. Please, I beg you. And if you get out of hand, I will, even if it's not protocol, go up there and get you and pull you away to save your family.
Michael, you obviously played football for 15 years. This is a reminder of your great career. But to a lot of people, they don't think of you as a football player.
Yeah.
Where you do so many other things. Is that kind of a little wild for you to think of yourself as an entertainer as much as you ever were a football player?
You know what? It's funny because now most people, a lot of men, all the men who used to come up congratulate me on football and now congratulate me on Kelly and Michael or GMA or something like that. It's a little weird, but it's cool. I mean, it means that I've done something right, and I look at it as a compliment. But yeah, I bumped into my old teammate Keith Elias last night, and Keith is like, "Oh yeah, my wife was like, oh, Michael Strahan and this." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna see him this weekend." She's like, "Huh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, at the Hall of Fame." He played football? And he goes, "Well, you know you made it when my wife knows you because she loves you because she doesn't know anything about sports." And that seems to be the story that I get a lot of. And I don't mind, because when I was a football player, when I did play, there were times when "Oh, you're the football player." And I think for any of us, that bothers you because you want people to understand that you're more than just a football player. And now I have the opportunity to show that, but I'm appreciative of people who do recognize the football side because I did it for so long, and it's such a big part of my life that I wouldn't have the part that they know me for now without that. And I'm very, realistic about that fact.
When do you think the light bulb went off for you when you look back at your career once you got into the league? And what is it, 96, 93, maybe
93,
93, but like 90.
Well, I just back then I was a late bloomer. I was somebody who had to kind of learn the game as I went. I didn't grow up on a football field. I didn't, every day practice. You're going to be a football player. I was just told by a father that you can go do it, and my intention was to show him that he was right and I can make him proud. So I had to read a lot of books. I had to watch a lot of film. I had to look at a lot of guys around this league. And a lot of guys were in the Hall of Fame, from Bruce Smith to the late Reggie White, to Lawrence Taylor, to Chris Dolman, to Andre Tippett. I used to watch so much film on those guys and try to emulate. And I try to just do what they did to the best of how I could do it. And something happened. I got it now. I'm comfortable on this football field. I'm comfortable in knowing that I'm good enough to be here, because that was always the challenge for me. Is being at a high school in 5 months, then getting to college, and am I good enough to be here? And then finally proving I'm good enough to be in the college, and walking into an NFL locker room, and am I good enough to be in this play? I mean, look at the guys around here. I walk in there, Lawrence Taylor, there's Phil Simms, there's Bart Oates. I mean, there's so many incredible guys there, and you're kind of looking around like, I don't belong here. It took me a few years, and once I felt that comfortable, then everything just took off.
Talk about that gold jacket tonight, just putting it on and getting it, what that means to you.
The gold jacket is going to be incredible. I mean, I'm looking at all the guys now who get to them accomplishment-wise, but it doesn't put a button on the fact that, this is permanent in my family, and this is something that continues to go on and never stops. And the gold jacket just kind of signifies that.
Talk about what you got from playing at Texas Southern and in SWAC that you couldn't have gotten at a bigger university had you had more acclaim coming out of high school.
Well, it wasn't. I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I played 1 year in high school. I don't think anybody looks at anybody basically, and I was sucked. I was bad. I was just there. I didn't even know what I was doing. Getting the guy with the ball. That was my whole thing. And but playing at Texas Southern was great because it allowed me to be a student. It allowed me to be a player, not just a number, not somebody getting swallowed up in the fact that if you don't play football well your first year, you may not get that scholarship in the second semester. But wasn't concerned with that. It gave you the opportunity to build real relationships and not be overwhelmed by the entire experience. And there's a certain level of toughness that you have to have. This year we have 3 players going into the Hall of Fame from HBCUs, and that speaks volumes because I know Aeneas and I were talking about the bus trips. We used to hop on the bus and have to drive to Alabama State, Jackson State. We even drove to the University of Central Florida one time, and you would have bag lunches where you get off, you practice at some high school field on the way there. Who does that? You have 1 pair of cleats the entire season. Man, when I learned I could get a new pair every week, you couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, it was just an experience that made me realize you're very fortunate when you're playing on a professional level. Remember where you came from. And I felt like I've been through so much toughness as far as the training that we did at TSU, the running, Coach Walter Highsmith tried to kill us. That when I was in the pro, and the coach would say, Ron, I was already almost seen hell. You can't take me any further than I've already been. I've already been there. And that's what Texas Southern gave me. It gave me the opportunity to push myself further than I ever had to push myself after.
Hey, Mike, congratulations first.
Thank you.
You played well on both ends. A lot of people just think you're a pass rusher, but you also played the run well. And to piggyback on what you were talking about earlier, about having to watch all these different guys, how important was playing the run as much as the quarterback?
I actually love playing a run more than I love wrestling quarterback. That's a fact. I love the physicality of it. I love the fact that here's a guy who's 100 pounds more than me. There's no way I'm supposed to beat him. But if I'm smart, if I use leverage, if I get off the ball quicker, if I've studied him enough to know him better than he knows himself, I could be in the backfield and make a play and get up and look, and there's a 350-pound guy on the ground, and I'm standing over his guy and what? You ever want to feel like Superman? That's a great way to do it. And I took so much pride in the fact that it's a two-way thing. I had a coach, Earl Leggett, my first coach, and thank God for Earl Leggett. And his thing was, football's not a game of finesse. You can run around blocks all you want, but eventually you're going to have to hit somebody. And he taught us the game, myself, and he was Howie Long coach when he was with the Raiders. He taught us the game in a different way than a lot of guys learned at that time, which is you got to stick your nose in there and be physical. And it didn't matter what size I was willing to do it. And it's a shame that you got guys say, I'm a pass rusher special, I'm a pass rusher. I hate that. Or, if you're defensive end, you're defensive end. You don't come off the field. You don't come out special situations. You stay there and you play football. Football's about doing it all. And I just took so much pride in never having to leave the field. Never have another guy come on and do a job that I felt like I should have been capable of doing. And I felt like I felt like a defensive end, not a specialist. And to do it 15 years and not have to be replaced, not have to be asked to take a diminished role, not have to be asked to take a pay cut or anything like that, lets me know that my attitude there.
How'd you do it at 250 pounds or whatever at the end of your career?